Brian Powell of I Run Far here with Addie Bracy after her third place finish at the 2019 Lake Sonoma 50 mile. How are you, Addie?
Good. A little sore and tired, but good.
Yeah, you had a little...
limping a little bit.
But you assured me that that is race fatigue rather than some sort of...
Yeah, what I would assume after a race like that.
Nice. Jump right into... It seemed like a race that Camille went off the front for a little bit, but otherwise was very dynamic in that front. Like you and Anime and EO were really close for a really long time. Is that...
Yeah. Yeah, Anime and I started talking, honestly, early, probably around 6 or 7 miles. And we're like, let's just work together. Like, we have the same goal here. We weren't totally sure what was going on up front, but we had to kind of make a judgment call and, like, hang back a little bit. And it was perfect because we kind of would feel good at different points. So I would feel good and gap her a little bit, and then she would feel good and gap me a little bit. But I think we were always, like, encouraging each other and helping each other out. And when it was, I think we hit the last aid station, I can't remember what it was called, but it's like 4.7 miles to go.
Yeah, Island View. Yeah,
Island View. Yeah, we were like, this went perfectly as planned. Like, I think as long as nothing bad happens in the last 4 miles, like, we got it in the bag, and she just felt great and like took off. And
but you felt pretty good.
No,
no.
I think I felt I don't know if it was dehydration or what, but I was getting kind of some muscle spasms.
Okay.
And so I didn't know how far back the next person was because I had heard that Kelly was still pretty close to Anime when Anime caught me again. So I was kind of worried to go with Anime and was like, oh man, if I get like a Charlie horse or something and can't finish the last 4 miles, I'm going to be so mad at myself.
So it was kind of like,
easy.
Yeah, running within yourself. I mean,
yeah.
Maybe reserving a little something if you needed to.
Right, if I had to, yeah.
So does that suggest that your goal is to run your way into Western States?
That was my goal, yeah. I had some backup plans, but I want to be there, and it's an amazing field, and I'm sure just like an awesome opportunity. So
you're taking your golden ticket?
Yeah.
The plan all along.
Yep.
So I want to back up a little bit. Last year, I mean, like 2017, you went from a road and track background to like jumping all into trail racing, going to Zagama, all that sort of thing. And then last year, you jumped right into ultra racing. You're like, I'm going to make this my year, right?
Kind of. I think at the time I don't want to say I was like thinking about retirement, but I've been doing this for a long time. I ran in college and ran after college. So it's been, I don't know, like probably over 20 years of training pretty hard. So I did my first 50 miler last March, I think, behind the rocks, and it went pretty well. And so I was kind of just like, it feels good right now. I'm older, so I don't feel like I'm super rushing it. I've done like a lot of mileage in my life. And opportunity like Western States, you don't know if you're going to get another chance. So just wanting to take the chance and see what happens. And I don't know how many years I have left. I hope it's several, but if it's not, I want to check some boxes off. Yeah.
And was last year about checking some of those boxes, or was it to explore the sport a little bit?
To explore. Yeah. I think just my strengths as an athlete in the past, I don't really get injured and can handle a lot of volume. So I just wanted to kind of test with a 50 miler, and it went really well, and did 100K and it went really well, and did Leadville 100 and it did not go well.
No.
So kind of set me back.
You were second, but it was not what you would have hoped for.
But it was good. It was kind of humbling, and I think I have a new respect for the distances, and I learned a lot, and I learned a lot today, and it's just, it's cool to kind of like learn every time, but also know every race experience is going to be different, and I like that challenge.
So what have you learned over this past year and change going into like a Western States?
I mean, for the most part, honestly, just respecting the distance. I think 100 miles is a long way. I think Leadville, I went in a little bit arrogant, not to the competition, but just, the ultras they had come really easy for me, and I hadn't had any issues. I had never had stomach issues. And so,
and that changed.
Oh yeah. I think I puked for like 7 hours. So I think just learning there are no guarantees and anything goes in 100. So, we've already kind of talked a little bit about it, but just being ready for anything.
Yep. So does that mean, are you going to change any of your preparation before Western States? Different from your Leadville prep, or? Probably.
Leadville, the challenge there is the altitude.
Oh, for sure.
So we trained a lot up there. I'm lucky to live nearby, and I'm in grad school, so I had the whole summer off. So in terms of scheduling, it worked really well. So Western for me will probably be a lot about the heat. I come from North Carolina where it's really hot and humid, but since moving to Colorado and that like dry heat, I've gotten kind of wimpy. So need to toughen myself back up a little bit.
Find some real hot days and run midday if you can.
Yep, exactly.
Do you have any races between now and then?
Probably not. Maybe I'm signed up for Quad Rock just because I love that race. It's local. Corey's trying to talk me out of doing it. So, well, if I did it, it would be as a nice long training run, but depends how I recover.
With your background and being honest about yourself, are you a type of person who can go do a race and go run it 90%?
No.
No.
So I think I ran into that mistake I did. Never Summer 100K. Claire Gallagher was in the race. I really wanted to win, and that was 3 weeks before Leadville, and I think ran too hard that day. So should learn from my mistakes probably.
Do you think that hitting the trails, has it re-energized your running or your life more generally?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I think when I ran my first mountain race, I started kind of the short distance mountain races. I was ready to retire. I had missed the Olympic trials, which I had qualified for, when I was 4 years younger and less experienced, and was just over it. But the trails are awesome, and the people are so awesome, and the community is awesome. And I don't feel, a day like today where there's a lot on the line kind of, but someone wants to work with you. That doesn't happen a lot on the track and on the road. So just having the camaraderie, and it's been really awesome.
And how about life-wise? Is that reflected back on life?
Yeah, it's just fun. It's not stressful to me. I make a point to not make training super stressful. It's just a better way of life. I just really enjoy it.
So you say you're in grad school. Has it changed, was at some point the track training and the road training, was that a burden and a stress and all that? Has that made the rest, your schooling and whatnot, easier?
Well, I wasn't in school when I was running the track and stuff. So honestly, we were talking. I was on spring break for the last 2 weeks. So I trained really hard for this race for the last 3 weeks, really. Yeah. And then it wasn't that I wasn't running, but I was, full-time grad student and internships, and it's made that challenging. But the roads and track, it's super black and white. You're getting faster or you're not getting faster. But these races, I don't ever really think that much about pace or numbers. I think about competing and throwing down my best effort. And, I try to race as hard as I can every time I race. And you're not constantly comparing yourself. So
those shades of gray make it almost easier to not be so self-judgmental.
Right. Kind of defining yourself.
I remember talking to you before Zagama in 2017, and you're like, you improved for 19 straight years or something. And then there was 2 years where you didn't, and you're like, well,
what's the point?
What's the point?
Everyone else is getting faster.
And here, you might not improve. You could come back, run Sonoma next year, be 15 minutes slower and win.
Right.
Or have a performance that you're really proud of.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I always say you're racing the day, the conditions, the trail, the terrain more than the other people. It doesn't mean you're not going after it, but the conditions change every year. So it's really hard to kind of get caught in this mindset of I didn't run fast enough.
Well, recognizing that it's so subjective, how would you rank this against your other ultra performances? Because you can look at yourself and,
I think that is the hardest I've pushed myself in an ultra so far, with the exception of Leadville probably, but we were racing from mile 1, and that's a long day to be racing the whole time. So like you said, there was a lot of back and forth, and some of my other ultras haven't gone that way. So 7.5 hours is a long time to be in the zone racing people.
Nice. Well, congratulations, and have a great training block before Western States.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thank you.